Can you believe I was in the middle of my Carnival spring break cruise in the burger line, swimsuit cover up with my niece, when I got the call? Actually, the text. Can you call me? I want to talk to you about the job. And while I was on the staircase, kids running up and down, I found out I got a new job. Well, I got a job offer, but I have a new job. So welcome back. If you haven't seen me for a while, if you've been following me, if this is the first time, well, I've been on like a 3-month hiatus from YouTube because I just didn't have the time, because headline, I got a new job. And it's been exciting. I'm working in the health IT world as an informaticist, which is very different than a lot of the work that I've been doing, but somehow mixes in to make perfect sense. And in this video, I kind of want to share my journey of how I got to the job and the pieces that came together. I think one of the things whenever we're approaching something new is I always have the mindset of what is for you is for you. Like, closed doors happen. I know it's cliche, people want to post about it, but I really do believe like what's for you is for you. And I have to remind myself sometimes when I know I'm striving for something and my patience is running low that it's gonna happen, but the right thing's gonna happen versus the wrong thing happening when you want it to happen. Again, Amy. If you've been following my journey, again, or new to my channel, the Nurse Sabbatical is really about this idea of, how do we create the lives that we want through lifestyle design, work, and rest, right? And especially in the nursing field where sometimes it feels like our entire life revolves around when we work, how we work, and can lead to burnout, which is one of the main reasons I started this channel. Taking you a step back. So I have been a nurse doing critical care. I got my NP almost 20 years ago. Started in outpatient GI, then went to Peds ER, went into leadership, doing a lot of amazing work. And then I suffered from burnout and took a sabbatical for almost 9 months. And within that time, I really wanted to find out what Amy wanted to do next, which has been an ongoing journey, even in the last 5 years. So I dabbled in the tech world as a founder of an app. I then did consulting for well-being because I was really passionate about this idea of how do we make sure that our clinicians are okay with their well-being and support them so they can do great work. And within that phase of trying to launch an app, doing consulting, I had to go back to clinical work because bills had to get paid and I needed more income. But as those two ventures kind of fizzled off and me trying to just do strictly well-being work just wasn't coming to fruition as I thought it would be, I landed just in doing clinical work. And even though I was working part-time in the ER, it was really hard. Like, I became very despondent because I knew that I wanted to do this big thing. I wanted to make an impact larger than I could currently see. And yet, here I am in this space of seeing patients. Now, let me take a step back and tell you, I love seeing pediatric patients. I truly enjoy some aspects of clinical work, but the harder parts for me are like, I don't want to do 12-hour shifts. I don't want to do 10-hour shifts. I want to do 8-hour shifts. I want to come in, see some kids, and then go home. And the space where I was in, and in many spaces now, that's not possible. So as I sat through many months of trying to figure out, like, what's the next step? How do you get out of here, right? Immediately, if you think, well, Amy, you quit your first job, like, as a nurse leader, like, why don't you just quit? And I was like, no, that's not an option because I am an adult, right? And I have bills to pay. But what was I really looking for? And it came down to a few things. It came down to lifestyle design that I talk about all of the time, which is, what do I want my day-to-day look like? I don't want to work 12 hours. I don't want to work 10 hours. I want to work a 9 to 5. I want my evenings off. I want my weekends off. I want my holidays off. That's what I want, right? Secondly, I wanted to be in healthcare, but I didn't want to be in a hospital system. I wouldn't say that I'm jaded, but it was more of the idea of, I understand how hospital systems work, and the type of work that I want to do or have an impact on, I feel like cannot fit the hospital settings that I'm seeing or that I'm near. So that was part of it. I knew that it had to impact some portion of well-being, where maybe not just full wellness and talking about yoga and mental health, but the systems. How do I impact systems to make a difference for clinicians wherever and whenever, right? Maybe not in just a solitude of a single place, but maybe like many clinicians. And then lastly, I realized it had to do with something with AI and technology, because with this whole AI revolution we're having right now, I find myself in the midst of it almost starting since last year, just discovering new ways to use it and become more efficient. And I'm thinking, well, if we import this into healthcare, like what impact could we make? So those were my criteria. I lost track, maybe 5, but those were my criteria. And so last summer, literally a year ago, August, I decided that not forget all this entrepreneurship stuff, but I'm gonna continue to show up for the nurse sabbatical and I'm gonna look for a job. And people talk about taking a sabbatical or not working full time and going back into the workforce can be challenging. And I agree, but I think there are also many factors that come into play when we talk about difficult, right? So you can probably easily go back to another job. I could easily have worked full time instead of part time. But the whole point of me taking a sabbatical was for me to find work that I enjoy. We all have to work in some component or capacity for our livelihood, right? But I want to make sure that when I go in, I'm not dreading it. I'm not miserable. I'm not exhausted by it by the end of the day. There's one thing to be tired. There's another thing to be completely exhausted. And I don't want that anymore. I want my job to be my job. That's where I show up. And then the rest of my life, I get to be me. That was another criteria. We can add that on. I think that's number 6. So in looking for that, I had to figure out, well, my resume right now screams well-being, consultant, nurse practitioner. So any search engine I put it into, we're talking about the LinkedIn, the Indeed searching, it only gave me clinical jobs. And that was the first part where I was like, oh, how do I make this shift from clinical, saying that I want to work in the health IT space? I'm feeling like I've done some founder work. I've done some consulting on an app. I'm genuinely interested in AI. How do I get into this space without having my own in? So I looked at my resume, made a bunch of tweaks, had AI kind of help me reconfigure how to think about my role in the work that I've done and take those critical thinking nursing skills and implement it into an IT world. I then did my own learning through LinkedIn Learning and some Coursera to figure out, okay, what other skill sets can I start gaining while I'm looking for this type of role? And then spend time looking for roles. I looked at companies that were kind of along the lines of doing innovative things with AI in healthcare. I made a list of them, again, ran them all through AI, curated a list, researched opportunities, and then I started applying. Now, I think, I was like, wow, I have these skill sets. It's going to be great. People are going to want me, right? So I started applying rapid fire because finally, ding, 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 I figured out what I wanted to do. I was despondent. I don't want to do clinical care anymore. I need more stability. And I figured out, Amy, go work in health IT. So once you figure out what you want to do, it should be simple, right? That's what the stories are, but no. It wasn't simple. So I must have applied to at least over 20 jobs, like literally 20 jobs. I could be exaggerating, but I think it was as many, at least 20 jobs. Every day I went on feverishly. I would try to I would try to apply to at least almost 5 jobs a day through all my different sources. And on some job boards, I sent out 5 applications for 5 different roles. But each time, because of the way that they screen for applications, I'm tweaking my resume to make sure that it fits the role that I want with my skill set. And I would send out the 5, and by the next morning, 3 rejections would come back. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, but I have all the skill sets, like, and the job sounds exciting, and the money looks good. Like, what am I missing? And I was like, it's fine, keep applying. One company I probably applied to like 6 times. Sorry, guys. But I literally did because I was like, I want to be here. Like, you and I make sense. What you want for your company culture, what I want to do, it all makes sense. I did outreach. I reached out to people on LinkedIn, tried to get their input. How did you get into health IT from a nursing standpoint? Like, what was your pivotal point? And sometimes people responded, it was helpful, and sometimes not so much, or sometimes they just didn't respond at all. And I was like, okay, let me try another avenue. And let me keep applying. So I kept applying some nights up until midnight, tweaking my resume, found another job, makes sense, send it, only to get a rejection. At some point, the rejections were coming faster than I could put out the applications. And I was getting frustrated. Frustrated every time I went into work because this is not what I want to be doing. Frustrated every time I sent out an application because I don't know if I'm going to get a response. Frustrated at the idea of like, now I believe in God and you know that he guides us, and I'm like, well, God, I'm doing all the things. Why isn't it happening? And so at some point, I was like, well, I need to meet the right people. And I thought about going to a conference in like California. And I was getting ready to gear up to go to the conference, and I was like, I'll find the money somehow and I will meet people and tell them like, this is what I want to do. Like, let me get a job. And for some reason I couldn't get the day off. I've asked 10 people, couldn't get the shift off. And I was like, this is not for me to attend. Because I can fight to do it, miss a shift, like go take a red eye to California, try to meet as much people, come back, but is it really gonna give me the value add, right? So I'm telling you all the things that I've done. And I really use the LLMs or the AI products to really kind of help me hone in on the type of job. So I knew exactly what I was looking for. I just needed them to look for me as well. So at some point in February, when I realized the conference wasn't happening, I released it. I was like, God, or if you speak to the universe, however you decide you want to manifest things, me rushing for this is not working. I know what I want. I have tweaked my resume 10 times at least for these 20 different positions. I am prepared for whatever is to come for me, but I know this is where I want to work and I'm not going to accept anything less. And so I stopped applying. And instead, what I did was I had LinkedIn looking for jobs for me. I dedicated every Wednesday to look for a job and apply, but I wasn't doing it every day because I was driving myself literally crazy. And so within that space, there was one day I was doing work on something on my computer and LinkedIn pops up a LinkedIn pops up a job posting in my email. So I take a look at it and I'm like, this job seems like the perfect fit. I forgot to say part of another requirement, what is that, number 7 now, was that the job is remote or hybrid. So I looked at this job and I was like, I went on their website and I was like, interesting, this job was literally posted today. And somehow I happened to check my exact email on the day that it was posted. So I'm gonna apply for this job. I have nothing to lose. I have 18 other rejections here. I've gotten calls about, we want to interview you, and then they never follow up. So here I am. What do I have to lose at this point? So I applied for the job. And one of the most fascinating things throughout my process, I told you that I applied for numerous jobs and I kept tweaking my resume to make sure it fit the job. So I opened up my resume and I just had to tweak one word. And it was perfect fit. I was like, all the other resumes, I had to hours I'm spending tweaking commas and minimizing spaces. And I just have to tweak one word. It was like, great, even less to lose. So I submitted the application. I was like, whatever, it goes into the abyss. Who knows if someone sees it? So now it's a week later. And I am getting ready to go in for a 2 p.m. shift, which normally means that around 12 o'clock I'm cooking. I'm trying to get all these things together to bring food in. I'm feeling despondent, no job. It's sunny outside, but I'm going to work. Flu season is a buzz. It's going to be crazy in the emergency room. And I get a call and I answer, which again is not normally like me. And the person tells me that they are from HR and they saw my resume and why do I want the job? Now, I will tell you that my hello was kind of like, hello? And immediately I perked up. And the reason why I say what's for you is for you is that even though I was in that headspace prior to getting the call, I knew exactly what I wanted because I've been working for months, 6, 7, 8 months, trying to find this role, trying to find a role that fit where I was now. And so I explained it because it's what I want. I didn't have to read it. I didn't have to perfectly say it. It was fluent in me. And so from there, she was like, all right, we're going to set up interviews. And 1 week, I got 3 interviews. I was like, great. Interviews were great. I'm liking the people. They're liking me because I do believe interview processes should be two-way streak. I need to make sure I'm a fit for you. You need to make sure you're a fit for me. And then crickets, like nothing. Just nothing. I had to meet with one more person. And I left that meeting feeling kind of like, ooh, I don't know how this is going to go. But here we are. I actually got to interview versus just getting rejections. So I must be doing something better. I had let them know I was going on vacation, and I was like, when I come back, like, it'll all work out the way it's supposed to. So again, I'm on the cruise with my family, celebrating birthdays, and in the line, burger line, swimsuit cover up on, and I get a text message, hi, I'm trying to reach you. Really? Now, if you know the cost of phones on like cruise ships, like it's almost $4 or $5 a minute. But I had to make this call because I wasn't missing this, good or bad. So I try to sneak in to the alcoves and the stairs. Kids are running up and down screaming. The connection is horrible. And the recruiter calls to tell me that they wanted to offer me the job. And I was ecstatic. I can't tell you how ecstatic I was. It was crazy that I was on this cruise and just, it was all manifesting the way it was supposed to. In that conversation, I then had to negotiate my salary and then tell my job that I was leaving because they needed 3 months notice. Which leads me to where I'm at now, working for a health IT company in informatics. And so far, so great, you know? So far, so great. I mean, so far, so good. But it is really great. I'm enjoying learning. I'm enjoying this new space that I'm in. And it's really challenging my mind in the way that I think about things in healthcare. So that was my story of like what's going on in 2026 in terms of the job market and pivoting into different spaces. And by me sharing this is really to let you know it is not easy. I am not going to say any part of this is easy, right? And I'm telling you, like, it's great where I am now. And I have more stuff to talk about working from home that I'll be delving into in some videos upcoming. But really wanted to hone in on the idea of when we decide, right, what is it that we want? The job, the lifestyle, because I think it goes coherently. Like, how do you want to live and the type of work would make you happy? Right? Not every day you're going to be like extremely happy and ecstatic, but that you can live with. Then it's about figuring out how to find it. And that is the piece that I am so proud of myself that I was able to do. And so I want to share that with people, right? If you're in that space where you're kind of like, I don't know how to get this thing, but I need to get out of here, drop me a line, let's chat. And if you guys find it would be interesting if I more walk through my process a little bit more, I'm happy to share, or even drop, if you'd be interested in having a link to the LLM prompt that I use to kind of help me find the correct role for me, and really hone in for me, not just generic 20-year experience NP and pediatrics, then also drop that in the link. I want to share that as well. The idea of the nurse sabbatical, honestly, lifestyle design, focusing on rest and making sure your work is a part of it, but is not the center of your life. Happy to share I have a new job. I hope to be on here a little bit more now that I am settled into my role. So the next time, take care and take breaks, guys.